Yo, what's up, everybody? Look, you must be wondering, haha, what's all this? Well, these are games of the Ratchet and Clank series, PS2. All 4 games. It's pretty sweet, huh? I like them. I hope you can see them, because this is probably like my, I don't know how many times recording. It's kind of hard to record on your own. Just kind of throwing it out there. PSP games, Ratchet and Clank. Not many, but they're alright. Then we got, oh boy, the PS3 collection. There's also a PSN one. It's not here because, you know, there's no physical release as far as I know. But these are here. You may have noticed they're still in plastic. I haven't played these yet. I kind of have a big old backlog. We'll talk about that another time, if ever. But there's a backlog. And you may have noticed, no PS4. But you must be wondering, what Ratchet and Clank games are there on the PS4? But there is one. I don't have it yet. But there is one. And it's based on the Ratchet and Clank movie! If you couldn't guess why I did that, because that's what we're talking about today. Yeah. The Ratchet and Clank movie! Which I think is actually a really good video game movie. Yeah. We're going to keep it a little unscripted today. We're going to be talking about the Ratchet and Clank movie. We're going to break it down to some pros and some cons. We're going to start with some pros. The Ratchet and Clank movie definitely feels like a video game. Like, if you watched it, you definitely feel like the game has translated very well to the, I guess, the big screen. The animation's great. Yeah, honestly, it kind of feels like a Pixar movie in some ways because, you know, the animation does look that good. I mean, and that used to be like a thing they used to say about the Ratchet and Clank video games, that they feel like they're from Pixar. So it translates very well as a computer animated movie. They got amazing voice talent for the movie as well, including John Goodman and Rosario Dawson. The voice acting is very good. I really felt like they sold their performances very well. The movie includes multiple nods to various games in the series, including more than one villain, Drek and Dr. Nefarious, which are from 2 different Ratchet and Clank games, respectively. There's also other nods to the games as well, including various weapons and even a nod to another Sony mascot character, Sly Cooper. The movie's plot was straight out of the original game, but with some tweaks. They wanted to make the movie feel fresh and original, so you can see what they did. They brought in another villain along with the original. So it's not exactly the same story as the original game, but it definitely has a lot of the main points, and then they changed it with the new villain. You might think with the changes to the plot that it might have hurt it, but I personally think it helped it because the original plot was very basic. With the different elements added to it, they made it a little more dynamic and a little more interesting. Now those are the pros. Let's start getting into the cons. The humor isn't great and it feels too cheesy. I mean, I guess this is partially because that's how the humor is in the games. But when you put it in the movie context, it kind of comes off very cheap. Like a little too cheesy at times. There's just so many jokes that just kind of fall flat for me. Like, I'm not even sure a little kid would find them that entertaining. And the jokes are definitely constant, to the point where it kind of destroys the plot a bit because a lot of the plot twists and the plot advancements are grounded in the little humor bits. So in that aspect, it definitely hurts the movie more than it makes it, you know, entertaining. Towards the end of the movie, they kind of set up for a sequel, but I don't think it's going to happen because if I remember correctly, this movie didn't actually do so hot in the box office and people were giving it bad reviews, which is unfortunate. And another thing that really bothered me throughout the movie is that Clank and Ratchet's relationship doesn't make any sense, because they barely spend any time together in the movie. When Clank shows up, that is about as much time as Ratchet and Clank really spent together, like, alone, like, kind of building their relationship. But afterwards, they spend their time separated. Like, Clank ends up hanging around a different character, and Ratchet ends up hanging out with Quark almost exclusively. And this takes up a good third of the movie. before Ratchet comes back and hangs out with Clank a little bit more before they separate ways again. But towards the end of the movie, they act like they've been friends forever, like they had this solid friendship from the start. So it kind of feels like they kind of tore that aspect straight out of the games, which kind of makes sense if you're a fan, because you know you expect them to have this strong relationship because they've been friends for so long. But in the movie, they just barely met, so that relationship kind of feels fake. Very fake. I guess the people who were making the movie kind of forgot they had to really build up their friendship first, and they kind of forgot. So it didn't really play out very well in my eyes. It bothered me, but it's fine. I mean, I guess because this movie felt like it was definitely made for fans. Ratchet and Clank has had like at least 10 games or more in its franchise, so people coming into this movie probably won't question it because they played the games. And Clank and Ratchet have been friends for 10 games worth, like I said, so that probably wouldn't come off as weird to them. But if you look at it from the perspective of a new person, like let's say someone who has never played Ratchet and Clank before, walks into this movie and watches it for the first time, it's gonna feel a little off that Clank and Ratchet even have that strong of a bond to begin with, because they, like I said, they really don't have that much on-screen time together. So that was another knock against its plot. With all that said, I think they actually did an okay job with the movie. It's not the best, but it felt like a decent movie. Like, I enjoyed myself despite all its faults. Alright, so let's move on to the conclusion. While Ratchet and Clank may not be the best movie around, I believe this is probably the best video game movie we have ever gotten so far. I say this because video game movies are usually very bad. They have to balance the identity of the game while still trying to create a good story. Where directors make a lot of mistakes is with trying to stay true to the game as much as possible, but they forget that video games are not structured the same way as a movie, so a lot of it doesn't translate very well. I believe Ratchet and Clank made a lot of great strides to actually succeeding in telling a decent story while keeping true to the game. I hope more PlayStation originals are made in the future because this was a great start as far as video game movies go. But yeah, honestly, like I was saying, Ratchet and Clank is a fine movie. It's not the best, but if you're a fan of the Ratchet and Clank games, I honestly suggest you go watch it because it's really entertaining, and it's currently on Netflix because that's how I watched it. This is Firemac saying bye-bye. See you next time. Don't forget to share with your friends and hit that subscribe button. I seriously need the help, guys. Seriously, please share. Come on, man. Wouldn't hurt. Come on.